Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, allow me to introduce myself. Hi, welcome to the podcast. I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher and encourager of souls, and I love the work that I do. I've been a full-time practitioner since 2006, and I offer one-on-one angel sessions, soul mentoring, and a variety of classes designed to inspire your spirit. All of my one-on-one sessions take place over the phone, and all of my classes take place over Zoom. And you can learn more at my website, illuminatingsouls.com, where you can also sign up for my mailing list. I also publish daily on Facebook. I don't know that anybody sees it anymore. Is anyone actually using Facebook? I don't know. That is the platform that I built the biggest following on, and so I am stubbornly staying connected to it. So if you find me on Facebook, say hello. I'm glad you're here. And I'm grateful for this time with you. So this podcast is inspired by two of my favorite forms of self-care: connecting with the angels and listening to a sleep podcast, which I do every night as I am drifting off to sleep. I started listening to sleep podcasts somewhere around 2015, and I have absolutely fallen in love with the genre. I get so excited when I find a new podcast that puts me to sleep. Last night was one of those weird sleep cycles for me. I fell asleep in the chair, on my sofa, I don't know, somewhere around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which for me is never a good thing. I'm not a good napper. And I woke up somewhere around 6:30 in the evening, still feeling really sleepy. And I couldn't decide what to do. Do I wake up? Do I just crawl in bed? I was in that weird in-between space. And so I stayed up for a little while, but I eventually got in bed. And I was exhausted and I couldn't fall asleep. If you're listening to a sleep podcast, you probably know that feeling. And so I tried a bunch of different podcasts, and I tuned into one of mine, and it was great. So I can give a proper testimonial about this sleep podcast, being able to help you go to sleep. So if you are using this as a sleep tool, here is my recommendation to you. So crawl in bed or wherever it is that you sleep, and I use wired earbuds. Again, it'll be up to you what sort of listening device you'd like to use. And I pick the episode that I'm going to listen to, and I use a sleep timer, which is part of the podcast app, so that it just doesn't keep playing throughout the night. And then I turn the volume down lower than I would if I were listening to an audiobook. Because an audiobook, I want to hear everything. And with a sleep podcast, I want to be able to reach just a little bit for the broadcast, but also easily be able to drift off. And so ultimately, that was my secret sauce last night for finally going to sleep. But I've had a weird 12 hours of sleeping and not sleeping and sort of sleeping and then having trouble waking up, but being awake, that weird in-between space. And so I guess I'm sharing this with you because I think all of us sometimes can feel a little bit challenged in the sleep department. And so if that happens to be you right now, I'm sending you so much love, and the angels and I will keep you good company for the next hour or so. And if you still find yourself awake at the end of this episode, there are many, many more to keep you company. And I'm grateful to be here with you. So the way this episode works, each episode, we usually start off with about 15 or 20 minutes of the rambling I'm doing right now, and I'll bring in the angels to be here with us. And then we move into story time, and story time might be stories from my own life. I might read through an old magazine or book that's in the public domain. I love to flip through old community cookbooks or old TV guides. So there's always something interesting and not interesting all at the same time. You know, it's a funny experience doing a sleep podcast because my intention is to keep you company and amuse you if you're awake, but also be boring enough and unimportant enough that you can fall asleep. So this isn't the kind of podcast that you have to take notes and pay attention. And honestly, I'm just here to ramble in your ears for a while. And I do know that many of you listen during your waking hours. And so if you're going about your day, I'm glad to be here with you too. However you listen, I am grateful for the opportunity to keep you company. So as I record this, it is early morning here. And the sun's come up, but it's gloomy. It's a wonderful gloomy morning, not gloomy as in sad. It just means the cloud cover is still here, which happens fairly frequently in the Bay Area. We wake up with cloud cover and the sky is gray, and within a few hours it burns off and the sun is out, which is such a great metaphor for life, isn't it? We're in the illusion of cloud cover, yes. We might be feeling kind of gloomy, and then the light comes in, and it helps us reorient ourselves. So this is a wonderful time of day to make a sleep podcast because the world is still quiet. Right now, the trees outside of my window are still. Like I have to look really hard to see any kind of movement at all. And so I send you this sweet moment of stillness to help you come into quiet, soothing energy. And my hope is this soothing energy supports you. And so I'll call the angels in. They are already here, but I love sharing this ritual with you. So I invite you to get comfortable in whatever way works best for you. And then we'll take a few nice deep breaths in and out as we gently call ourselves forward into the heart of God. And if God is not your word, into the heart of the universe, into the heart of divine love. And just breathe, letting this love fill the space you are in. And beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. And I ask that you infuse this broadcast with waves of love and goodness and kindness and light. That each of our beloveds listening to this message receive the blessings you are sending to them right now. And I ask that you help clear any fear or doubt or worry that does not serve us. I don't know any kind that does, but clearing that which is not ours. Helping to infuse us with the brightness of love and goodness and sweetness too. And as this love comes flowing through for you, the angels and I invite you to bring into your heart any prayers or intentions you wish to share with God and the angels. That there is plenty of space here for you. This is a beautiful time to ask for help, support for yourself, for those you love, for the greater world. Just remember to include you in the prayers, please, because there's more than enough divine grace to go around. How can the angels help you? Asking the angels and God for help is a very powerful way to open up to divine grace. When we ask, it gives the angels permission to support us. They always are here to support us, but this is a realm of free will. And so this lifetime is all about us. It's all about you. And we get to choose. Most of the time we get to choose. And when we ask for help, let's see, how can I explain this? Because I feel it and I see it vibrationally. So probably a common experience we all can share is feeling lost. I don't mean cosmically lost. I mean we're driving somewhere or we've walked somewhere and we're lost. Maybe we've just been walking and not paying attention or driving and we take a turn. That there is this moment of awareness where we start noticing milestones, landmarks, things that are familiar. It's like we lift our head up and we begin to take the information in differently because now we are looking to find our way. Now we are resourceful. Now the insight and the wisdom has the opportunity to flow to us. And that's a little bit of what it's like to ask for help. My experience of asking for divine help, it opens my awareness to greater opportunities, greater grace. I'm no longer in resistance or struggle. It's like, angels, help me with this, please. And it's almost as if energetically I lift my head up, my eyes towards the horizon, and I open to the greater expanse of all that is, rather than having my blinders on and having a narrow focus. And it opens up to serendipity and clearing. You know, we never know what's available to heal and clear through grace. Not everything is, but you'd be amazed at how often grace can show up. For instance, if you wake up and life feels heavy to you, you say to the angels, angels, please lift this heaviness. Help me come into lightness of spirit. Help me find the joy in this day. And it invites the angels and divine light to begin to infuse your day with a different kind of vibration than you might have been aware of when you woke up. I know this is sounding a little abstract, but ask for help. Ask and allow for grace to find you. It's not like 3 wishes from a genie, like I'd like a pony and a new car. And it's not that kind of asking. But that's not really what we want anyways, right? We want peace of heart. Help me feel more resourceful. Help spark my inspiration. Help me find my way. Help me remember who I am as a divine being in this human experience. Help me get a good night's sleep. Yes, help me rest well. Help me rest in a way that is replenishing. Bring healing light to every cell of my body, every thought in my mind, and every emotion in my heart. or probably better said, allow the angels to bring to you beautiful healing light to every cell of your body, every thought in your mind, and every emotion in your heart. That you know that you are loved always, always, no matter what. This love is here for you. That your angels carry love for you. And they've loved you since before you were born. That they know all that is transpiring in your life, and they're here for you. So just take a nice breath in, just allowing this love to infuse all that you are, flowing across the timeline of your life, into the past, into the present, and into the future streams. Knowing that there is great love here for you. Just take another breath in, allowing yourself to receive this soothing, loving broadcast that is taking place in your name to honor you and support you. And so, my beautiful friends, just take another breath in, and if you are preparing for sleep, to cozy on up and snuggle on in and drift off whenever you are ready. And if this is your waking time, especially if you're operating heavy machinery, stay awake and alert, please. Whatever you need from this podcast, my hope is that you receive it. And we're going to go on into story time. So recently I purchased 2 different lots of antiquarian ephemera for the home. So there's some cookbooks in it. There are some household tips and tricks, some booklets for the new bride, how to take good care of your husband, that kind of stuff. And for this story time, what I am going to share with you is a little booklet that caught my attention. It's called Aunt Jane's Cookbook. So the first reason I loved it is because I have an Aunt Jane. I had an Aunt, well, she's in heaven now, but my Aunt Jane is one of my very favorite people. She is not the Aunt Jane of this cookbook, but it just made my heart happy to see Aunt Jane's Cookbook. It just brought forward love for my Aunt Jane. And so it says Aunt Jane's Cookbook and Suggestions for Farm, Home, and Stock. Because this Aunt Jane supposes that you might have poultry or be on a farm, that you might have cows or sheep, that you might be tending to a garden. And the thing that I found really interesting about this is it's published by a company called McConnon and Company in Winona, Michigan, and Memphis, Tennessee. It's a company I had never heard of before. But as I went to research it, thank you, my friend Google, I discovered that it was a very interesting company. So, do you remember the concept of the door-to-door salesman? And I'm using the word man because more often than not in this era, it was men doing the selling. Like the Fuller Brush man, and not in the way we think of door-to-door salesmen today, but back in the day, before you had giant department stores and Walmarts in every neighborhood, there would be different merchants that would come to your door and sell you the supplies you needed. Whether it was a new broom or a paintbrush or a ruler. And what McConnon and Company sold were things for the kitchen, such as flavored extracts and powders and spices, as well as healing remedies, face powders, things for the farm. So I found some ads, and in the ads there would be a paneled truck that would say McConnon and Company on the side and a very friendly looking man. driving into your town with all of the supplies you need. And so you'd place your order, and more often than not, they would have the stock with them and leave it with you. So I just have found this whole booklet very fascinating. Definitely a different era. And so I thought we could go through it together. This looks like this is probably from the 30s. It doesn't have a date on it, but that's my best assumption. The company is no longer in existence. But maybe some of you who've ever cleaned out your parents' house or your grandparents' house, maybe you found a little tin of spice or a bottle that says McConnon and Company, and now you know what that is. So let me begin by reading to you the opening letter, and it says in big letters, "Please read this interesting letter from Aunt Jane." So let's do it. This is to H.J. McConnon, President of the McConnon and Company. So, dear Mr. McConnon, it is a pleasure to write you and tell you what my experience has been as the wife of a McConnon dealer. As you know, my husband, Jim Hankins, has been a McConnon dealer for over 17 years. We always use McConnon products in our own home, and I do not know where I would go to find merchandise of higher quality. Jim says he almost never has a complaint. I often sell products to people who run at the house, and everyone who uses McConnon products say they are the very best. I am glad you asked me to help with this new cookbook. You wrote me that you intended to call it Aunt Jane's Cookbook. This is very complimentary to me, and I have been very careful to select only the recipes that I think my own friends and neighbors would like to have. I feel sure that the special suggestions, the weights and measures table, the daily egg record, see, we're keeping eggs back then, and the other information you intend to put in this book will often be found useful in almost every home. Most of the thousands of families throughout the country that will receive this new cookbook will probably know about the McConnon Company. I know that your company has been in business for over 40 years and is one of the largest and best of its kind in the country. Each succeeding year finds it much more widely and favorably known as the house of greater values, higher quality, and friendly service. I believe you wrote me that you intended to print a list of the McConnon products in the cookbook. That is a good plan, because out there are some people who have used McConnon products for over a generation, and they still don't know about some of the most valuable and useful products in your famous line. I think you should also tell people at least a little bit about each of your products. This information, together with my choice recipes, will surely be of help and interest to practically everyone who receives this new book. If any McConnon dealers or users of McConnon products want to write me in care of the company about anything on which I can give them some help or information, I will be glad to answer their letters. Thanking you for the privilege of helping you with these recipes and hoping folks will like this book and find it useful, I am, respectfully yours, Aunt Jane, Mrs. Jim Hankins. So if it's been in business for over 40 years, I did find some information that it was established in the 1890s. So this is probably somewhere in the 1930s or early 1940s. So I'm going to be reading to you some of the recipes, but I'm really going to be reading to you the copy on their products because I just think it's fascinating. So we open up to breads and biscuits, and this is featuring McConnon's baking powder. It says, here is a modern, dependable, and economical baking powder that takes all of the guess out of baking. It is utterly unlike the old-style powder. It is a double-action baking powder of highest quality. Only 1/5 to 1/3 of the leavening gas is liberated at room temperature. The balance after heat is applied. When you use macadons, you need not rush the batter to the oven. This wholesome baking powder does most of its work after it reaches the oven. This ends dropping of hot breads, cakes, and biscuits, and puts a stop to falling and sogginess. Yet this double-action baking powder costs no more than the old-style powders and less than some of them. Macadon's baking powder comes in 1-pound cans only. So apparently there was a fantastical improvement on baking powders back in the day. So it says your Macadon dealer absolutely guarantees each and every Macadon product he offers you. Ask your Macadon dealer to leave any products you may wish to try on approval. So here's pinwheel biscuits. I just love the name. I like pinwheel things. 2 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar. Not much sugar, right? 4 teaspoons of Macadon's baking powder. Half a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2/3 cup of milk, half a cup, was it half a cup? Oh, 1/3 of a cup of seeded raisins chopped finely, 2 tablespoons of citron chopped finely, and half a teaspoon of Macadon's cinnamon. Mix this baking powder mixture, roll to a 1/4 inch thickness, brush with melted butter, and sprinkle with fruit, sugar, and cinnamon. Roll like a jelly roll. Cut off pieces 3/4 inch thick. Place pieces on a buttered tin and bake in a hot oven for 15 minutes. I bet that would have delighted me as a kid. Okay, and now we're getting into the extracts. So vanilla. Is there anything that smells better than vanilla extract or vanilla? Like anytime I open up a bottle of vanilla extract when I am making something, just a wave of delightful satiety moves through all that I am. So let me share with you what they say. Vanilla beans are grown and cured in numerous tropical countries. There are dozens of different grades. Only the plump, ripe, properly cured beans give the richest, truest vanilla flavor. Therefore, only the finest beans are used by Macadons. After the chopping, percolating process is completed under the most modern methods and supervision of a thoroughly competent graduate pharmacist. The pure tincture of vanilla is aged for months before a drop of it is used. Numerous competitors compare their product with Macadon and make strong claims for their product. All your Macadon dealer asks is for you to try a bottle of Macadon's famous vanilla compound dark. Once it is used, it will speak for itself and you will join the millions of critical housewives who call Macadon's the finest and most economical vanilla they are able to secure. Your attention is called to the words imitation vanilla extract on the vanilla compound label. Notwithstanding the very large percent of purest and finest tincture of vanilla in this compound, its fine, true vanilla flavoring strength has been so greatly increased by the addition of pure vanilla and coumarin that its superior strength requires this labeling due to the recent peculiar ruling, I love that, of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. You will understand what we mean by peculiar when we say that if we reduced the flavoring strength of this famous vanilla compound, we could eliminate the word imitation from the label. Do not be deceived by competitors who may try and confuse you on this point in an effort to sell you some other kind. Well, that's interesting. I also want to go back because other things that I have read that were written around this time, the word competent is used fairly frequently in this era, and I don't know why that just, I don't know, it always calls my attention. So this was created by a thoroughly, not just competent, a thoroughly competent graduate pharmacist. I don't know. I love that. Oh, here's an interesting recipe. Graham muffins. 1.5 cups of graham flour, 1/2 cup of white flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, 4 teaspoons of McConnell's baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 egg, 1 cup of milk, 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter. So apparently there is a plain muffin recipe in the book that I have skipped over. So it says mix according to plain muffin directions. All right, more extracts. We come next to almond extract, a new and unusual flavor. It adds variety to the menu. Splendid for giving that true almond nut flavor to angel food cakes, cookies, candies, etc. It is made from the choicest pressed almond oil. It should be used sparingly on account of its strength. An excellent substitute for pistachio can be made by combining McConnell's almond and vanilla compound flavoring. I didn't know that. I love pistachio flavored things. Did any of you go to Starbucks when they were doing the pistachio flavored cold foam? Made me so happy. Okay, black walnut flavor. Imparts the exquisite flavor of rich, fragrant black walnuts, which are often difficult to obtain. It's a very economical and fine black walnut flavor for use wherever the flavor of choicest black walnuts is desired. It is a strong, fine flavor and should be used sparingly. All right, we also have orange extract and lemon extract. I love the smell of orange essential oil. Again, makes me happy. So the smell of this pure and extraordinary orange extract will remind you of the flavor and aroma of the finest fresh-picked sun-ripened oranges. It is made from natural and finest selected oil of orange. You will find it exceedingly good in whatever you desire to flavor with true orange extract. It is unusually fine, full strength, and makes it economical to use. And if you think back, back in the day, before we had all of these modern ways of transporting produce across the country, no matter if it's in season or not, it would be hard to get your hands on oranges certain times of the year. So having access to a good extract would probably make a difference in baking. And so there's also lemon extract. The finest lemons are now grown in parts of Spain and southern Italy. I don't know why they're going all the way there, especially because weren't lemons being grown in California and Florida, but we're going to Spain and Italy here. The choice oils are selected for McConnell, and as the lemons come in from the groves, the rich oils are extracted, purified, and refined, packed and sealed in pure tin-lined copper containers, and shipped to us. Well, that's interesting. They're importing the lemon oil. And I have to just give you an aside about how this book is laid out. So right now, we're in the meat recipe section of the cookbook, but there's all of these fruit-flavored extracts that they're talking about, which have nothing to do with the recipes. So it's a little disjointed. I would just say if I were editing this cookbook, I might do it a little differently, but that's okay. And just a different aside, because here there's a meatloaf recipe, and at the bottom is maple-flavored extract and pineapple flavor, which are not being used in any of the recipes on this page, I don't think. Yeah, no, they're just using McConnell's pepper and McConnell's celery salt and paprika. So they should be talking about those here, don't you think? But that's okay. Whoever made this at the time, I'm sure they made the decisions for reasons that are meaningful to them. Okay, maple flavor. From childhood on, the taste of pure, rich maple syrup has an almost irresistible appeal, I would agree. But pure maple syrup is often expensive and sometimes it's difficult to obtain. A delightfully true, wholesome substitute for pure maple syrup can be made with Maconan's maple flavor. All that is needed is a little sugar, boiling water, and a small amount of maple flavor. You will find simple directions on each package. It is also a pure, wholesome, artificial maple flavor for pastries, creams, custards, etc. And then we have pineapple flavor. Well, this is interesting. This is an imitation flavor because no pure extract can be made from the pineapple fruit. I don't know if that's still true. For this same reason, strawberry and banana flavors are also artificial. While Maconan's pineapple flavor is at least the equal of all similar flavors, it is not the equal of the pure fruit flavor itself. However, many people like it for an occasional change. Well, that's pretty cool, truth in advertising, right? And then they have mixed fruit flavor. This is a very appetizing combination of purest lemon, vanilla, orange, and other flavors. Oh, I bet that was lovely. It is one of the most popular and satisfactory Maconan flavors. Very appetizing and does not tire the taste. Your family will like it for an occasional change. Like, I bet that would be great in a sponge cake or something. And then they have strawberry flavor. I'm not going to read all of these because we have lots more to get to, but banana flavor, star anise extract, extract of wintergreen. What would you use that for? They also have extract of peppermint. So on the wintergreen one, it says this is another fine and true flavor for frosting, mints, cakes, candies, etc. Many people use it medicinally, while others use either peppermint or wintergreen to flavor cod liver oil. So this is in the cod liver oil era of medicine. You may find that a teaspoonful of peppermint extract, for example, added to a mix with an 11.5 ounce bottle of Maconan's pure cod liver oil may make it more palatable. So we've made it through the extracts. Now we're on to the spices. So we've got nutmeg and cinnamon, ground mustard and mustard relish. We also have ginger and allspice, black pepper, and cloves. Well, this is interesting. I did not know this about allspice. Allspice is a fruit from the pimento tree that is dried in the sun and imported by us from the West Indies and Jamaica. The allspice fruit is carefully cleaned, sorted, picked, and all stems from other foreign materials are removed. It is then ground and packed in the well-known Maconan's airtight tins. It is very popular and widely used. Like all Maconan's spices, its full strength, extraordinary quality and flavor make it much more satisfactory and economical than the cheaper spices, for a few cents less. It's always so interesting to me to hear where spices come from. Here's one on cloves. I didn't know this. Cloves are the dried flower buds of Eugenia aromatica, a small tree which grows in Molucca, Sumatra, West Indies, and Zanzibar. Okay, these countries have different names now. I don't know what they are offhand though, so we're going to just keep going. When these buds are first picked, they are of a reddish color. During the curing process, they turn to the familiar blackish-brown shade which we're all familiar with. Maconans select only the thoroughly ripe, full-strength, and most pungent cloves. All stems, grit, and foreign matter are scientifically removed before grinding and packing. That is why Maconan's cloves are preferred by the most critical and exacting housewives throughout the country. There is a recipe here for baked rice pudding. I think things like rice pudding, you either love it or you don't like it at all. It's not one of these, it's okay. I love rice pudding. So this is 2 cups of cooked rice, 2 eggs beaten, a 1/4 cup of milk or cream, half a teaspoon of McConnell's vanilla, and half a cup of sugar. Again, love a good rice pudding. Orange pudding, what would that be? Let's see. 2 cups of milk, half a cup of breadcrumbs, 2 tablespoons of coconut, and pie aid. So pie aid is some sort of powdered product that we'll talk about in a little while, brought to you by McConnell's. So we'll come back to that. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1½ teaspoons of McConnell's baking powder, 3 eggs, half a cup of sugar, 1/3 cup of chopped nut meats, and a 1/4 cup of orange cup. That might be one of their products, so that we haven't gotten to yet. Add enough water to make half a cup. Scald the milk, pour it over the crumbs, and when cool, add the pie aid and baking powder sifted together, then the sugar, nuts, orange cup, and eggs beaten light. Turn into a mold which has been thoroughly greased, cover closely, and steam about 1 1/2 hours. Unmold and serve with whipped cream or hard sauce into which a little orange cup and chopped nuts have been stirred. So again, imagining we are in the marketing meeting for this cookbook, I would say, I'm thinking maybe we should put pie aid and orange cup on this page instead of black pepper and cloves. But that's just me. All right, there's something called sparkle gel, which is McConnell's sparkle gel is a delightful gelatin dessert, a nutritious, delicious, tempting food product. So it has 3 big advantages over almost all other gelatin desserts. Each of the 4 flavors of sparkle gel, raspberry, strawberry, orange, and lemon, are richer, stronger, and more natural, much like the real fruit itself. So it's easy and simple to prepare, and it holds its shape. And then there's mac gel, which makes quick certain jelly from any fruit juice or flavors. So if you're making jelly, that would be a good thing to have. We've got a bunch of different pies and more puddings and quick cakes. But we'll keep going because we have to get to the pie. What was it? The pie thing and the orange cup. So we know what those are. Oh, it's called pie aid. Pie is America's dessert. The average home bakes or buys pies at least once a week. Wow, pie was a big thing back then. The average baking or purchase runs from 1 to 3 or more pies. It's a lot of pie. There are millions and millions of pies being baked and eaten. There are millions of women fussing around hot stoves, doing their work and doing it well to satisfy the family appetite. But even the best books are not always sure. Oh, it should be cooks, I bet. It says books. But even the best, I'm going to say cooks, are not always sure of results, and most of them welcome sound and practical shortcuts in making pies. McConnell's pie aids have become unusually popular each succeeding year. They enable you to make the most delicious, toothsome, great word, plump, tasty pies that it is possible to make. Pie filling is made in about 1/10 of the time. Results are always perfect. It is an easier, handier, quicker way, and cheaper. Each can of the 3 kinds, lemon, chocolate, and coconut, contains enough for 4 to 9 pies. You also find pie aid excellent for custard dessert. It is thoroughly good and not expensive. Okay, so pie aid is for the filling of the pie. And the can that they're showing is the lemon flavor. That's a lot of pie. If you're baking 1 to 3 pies a week. No wonder whenever I read through old community cookbooks and they're like, make a pie shell, because they figure you know how to make it already, because you've been making 1 to 3 a week for years. And we also have some food coloring here that they are selling, 3 popular cake colors. So we've got yellow, green, and red. And then they also have fine fruit flavors. This is where the orange cup comes in that we were talking about. Pure, wholesome, zestful, great word, appetizing fruit drinks are quickly made with Macannan's fine fruit flavors. Follow the simple directions and mix them with cold water, sweetened to taste, and serve. They are a treat to all the family, and they make a welcome change at meals. Delightfully refreshing for outdoor workers during hot weather, their purity is absolute and their fine fruit flavors unsurpassed. By having at least a bottle of each on hand, you will find them handy, convenient, and delightfully satisfying and economical. So let's see what flavors we have. So there is one with imitation grape flavor. This one is hard to read. There is the orange cup, one called raspberry nectar, and one called imitation cherry flavor. And again, not to put too fine a point on this, but this is being advertised on a page that has the recipe for pickles, beet relish, and tomato ketchup. So I don't, can we go back and redo this, Aunt Jane McConnens? Because, 90 years later, there's going to be a podcast being broadcast about this, and you're going to be driving me crazy. But it's okay. It's okay. I can adapt. Well, now they do pickles with all kinds of flavors. Have you seen the Kool-Aid pickles that people are making? I watch way too many TikToks. So Kool-Aid pickles, I don't know that they're a thing now, but definitely a year ago they were a thing. And these, like fruit syrups, remind me of all the syrups we use now in our coffees and in water. All the things you get at Marshall's or TJ Maxx, all the different flavors that you can put in your water or your coffee. And they have so many sugar-free flavors now. I don't really use many of them. I buy them because I think I'll like them, and then I don't. But anyways, I have 2 on my counter right now. One is mango flavored, and the other I think is horchata almond that I haven't even opened, but it was marked down to $2. So of course I bought it, even though I haven't used it. It's sitting there waiting for the moment that I say to myself, I must have something that is horchata almond flavored. So you can see what kind of housewife I would have been back in the day when McConnens came to call. I'd be like, I need one of all the fruits. Give me one of all the fruits. And then I might not even make them. They also have paprika and red pepper. And now we have a few testimonials from women who have written in. This is my favorite because I know we would be friends. McConnen's breakfast cocoa. I mean, this woman is making breakfast cocoa. I want to go to her home for breakfast. Is much richer and better tasting than I have ever used. At first, I thought it high priced, but after using it once, I found it worth much more than the slight difference between the cost and the cost of some that are sold on price only. And this is from Vesta Mingus in Washington. So I just know I would like her because she is making breakfast cocoa. I don't know that she's actually making it for breakfast, but since I only know, what this little snippet about her, I'm going to affirm that she's having breakfast cocoa, which is brilliant. And the name Vesta is fantastic. I wonder if she really existed. I should go look her up in Ancestry.com. Should I go do that? Okay, wait, I'll be right back. Okay, so I found her on Ancestry.com. She was born in 1911 in Arkansas. And it looks like she passed away in May of 2005 in Washington. So, God bless you, Vesta. I'm so glad to know you, and I'm glad to get to share your name and your presence all of these years later. So, Ancestry.com is a fascinating subscription to have, just so you know. I love it. I'll have to look up some of these other people, but not right now. And now we're in the jam and jelly section. I will tell you, I have never thought about making jam or jelly, but there's a woman I follow on TikTok, Claire, known as Condiment Claire. I'm in love with her. Okay, I don't know, I would imagine she's in her 20s or early 30s. And she was raised in Los Angeles and in France and spent time in Greece. Her dad's family has this old mill somewhere in France. And so she is often there, and she shows us what it's like in the mill. And she and her dad go to the different French bakeries and have a baguette and a cafe au lait eclair, like a coffee eclair. And they're adorable together. And her mother, I guess, lives in both Los Angeles and Greece, so we get some of that as well. And they seem like the loveliest people, like authentically lovely. And so Claire and her dad grow all kinds of things at the mill, and then she makes jams and jellies all the time. Just like, I always thought with jams and jellies you need to make like a dozen jars, and she makes one. And she puts different spices and things in it, and I'm fascinated by her jam and jelly love, like her delight for jams and jellies, which I've never really given much thought to before, other than I need something to put on my peanut butter. So anyways, shout out if you want just a lovely account to follow on TikTok. I think she's also on Instagram. Her name is Claire. Just Google Condiment Claire. And she's lovely, lovely, lovely people. 3 times lovely, I just said. That's how lovely she is. And so now I'm like, maybe I should make some jam. It's a terrible idea for me to make jam, but I think maybe I should make some, because she makes it look so easy, and she's so happy when she makes her jam. So anyways, if you want to be inspired for jam making, follow Claire on TikTok or Instagram. All right, well, we have now made it through the food section. I mean, there may be more food, I don't know, but for now we're in beauty aids. Talcum powders, toilet soap, hair tonic, lilac vegetal. I don't know what that is. Has such a distinctive, delightful perfume that most women find it a delightful toilet water. It is great as an after-shaving lotion for men, as it helps to make the face comfortable and to heal those tiny nicks that the razor so often inflicts on the face. They also have toothpaste. It cleanses, deodorizes, and preserves. Absolutely harmless to most delicate teeth. Has a very satisfactory taste, and children like it. Well, there you go. Because you always need some good toothpaste. So, use it at least twice a day and see your dentist at least twice a year. So that wisdom still holds today. Oops, I was wrong. There is still more food. We have good cakes and cookies, and then this is my favorite headline so far. Some good luncheon dishes. That's fantastic. Okay, let's see. I don't know that there's anything here that I would share with you. But they are some good luncheon dishes. Now there's a page and a half telling you how to take care of your poultry. So how to care for your chickens and ducks and goose, I guess. And then there is an ad for their Acodynes, which is their form of aspirin, which really has nothing to do with the poultry, but that's where they're putting this. But that's how this whole thing is laid out, so I'm okay with it. Okay, and it would not be a journey through something that has recipes without sharing with you some good candy recipes, including butterscotch, which, as I have shared with you before, is one of my favorite sweet flavor profiles. So 2 cups of brown sugar, half a cup of butter, and half a cup of water. Boil until hard. When dropped into cold water, pour into buttered pans to cool. So again, they have a lot of faith in our candy making abilities because those are all the instructions. Boil until hard when dropped into cold water. That's the cold ball phase, which I remember from home ec. Back in the day, 60s and 70s, girls took home ec and boys took shop. That's just what happened. I learned so many practical things in home ec, though, that I think any gender child should now have a home ec class and a shop class. Like, it's great that we're learning calculus, but I think what I learned in home ec has had more practical application across the timeline of my life than calculus or algebra. I'm not saying we shouldn't learn things like calculus and algebra because they make our brain healthy. But again, what I learned in home ec, I have applied throughout the rest of my life. Also, the class where I learned how to balance a checkbook was fantastic. So practical wisdom is important. And there's a little snippet here that I'll share with you. Diet for weight control, because you know me, always looking for something that will help. This is not it, just so you know. Diet for weight control, a list of foods to avoid. Appetizers, ketchup, pickles, olives, horseradish, etc. Okay, I'll come back to that. Rich foods made with fat or oil bases, cream soups, oil, salad dressings. Carbonaceous meats, pork and pork products, sausage, scrapple, etc. Such vegetables and cereals as potatoes, hominy, rice, cornmeal, oatmeal, parsnips, beets, turnips, and other starchy foods. Sweets, candies, cakes, puddings, pastries. Beverages. Tea and coffee may be used, but with a minimum of sugar and cream. Far better without either. Avoid cocos and unskimmed milk. Okay, here's my little bone of contention. No one is getting fat from ketchup and pickles. Okay, pickles have no calories to them unless they have sugar in them. Olives, I don't know that anyone is eating enough olives to get heavy. Horseradish, I don't think it even has any calories. So just eat boring food that has no flavor. Thank you very much. That's not really what they're saying, but this is landing on my lifetime of pettiness that I have with the diet industry. But that's okay. That's not what this is about. This is about McConnens. There's breakfast cocoa involved and butterscotch candy, so I'm a happy girl. Okay, and I think that is a really good place to bring this to our completion for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this. I have found it fascinating. And a look into the Wayback Machine. So, my beautiful friend, I wish you the sweetest of dreams, and I wish you love and goodness and all the beautiful things in the world. So thank you for allowing me to keep you company, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.